Let the runes of geometry be cast. Yes, indeed. Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today we're back with some Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer action. Today we've got Wicked facing off against Dimmy Dwarves versus the Warriors of Chaos. And as you can see from the Dwarven position here, they've taken a very advantageous defensive position here in the woods on top of a hill with a massive air force of gyros to draw the warriors in. Fortunately for Dimmy Warriors of Chaos, he does not have a Hell Cannon. Instead, he's got Big Bird and Manticore, Chariot, we got a couple Warhounds here, Chosen with great weapons, no surprises there, a mix of Marauders, great weapons, yeah, a lot Chosen and Warriors with great weapons with a couple token Marauders for some extra bodies. For the Dwarves, a little defensive box here. We've got Peak Gate Guard, regular Hammerers, Norgrimlings Ironbreakers, and Boar Hammerers, Dragonback Slayers, and of course the Rune Lord. He is on the rune, so that will give all Dwarves map-wide lots of magic resistance, 40% magic resistance, pretty heavy stuff. So Big Bird himself with his magic attacks isn't going to do too much. Let's have a look at Big Bird's spell loadout as well. Let's see here. Plague of Rust and, Final Transmutation. That is unfortunate because that is not going to generate a whole lot of value here. And the Plague of Rust as well isn't going to generate a whole lot of value either, just because he doesn't have that many non-armor-piercing infantry units. The Chariot's currently getting chased off by part of the gyros, the other gyro getting chased in circles by the Manticore. Cue the circus music. And the Marauders eating the blasting charges, which is actually a pretty good use for them in this particular situation, rather than the blasting charges hitting something like the Chosen, or, just something more useful, like, these Chosen with great weapons. This is actually exactly what you don't want to have happen. Oh, man. Oh, the value right there. I mean, granted, those are very expensive Norgrimlings Ironbreakers, and they're not going to do a whole lot to the Chosen in melee, other than not die. They will just hold, so yeah. They're not going to do a whole lot of damage back, though, so it is a little bit unfortunate there. Gyros, though, firing in here on the Manticore, which decided to charge down, sick of chasing the gyros in circles. And that Chaos Chariot looks like it may hang around. The gyros may decide to try and finish him off, but as it is right now, the Chaos Hordes are just washing up against the Dawi here, so let's get in for some close-up action. So I know that's what you guys want to see, especially you Dawi lads out there, watching the Dwarves just hold against these Warriors of Chaos. The Ironbreakers, oh man, I love the Norgrimlings Ironbreakers with their bright red and gold. So cool. Chosen are also badass looking, you gotta admit. Just super heavy metal right now, this grinding battle. Massive Final Transmutation goes down, but the Rune Lord also counters with Master Rune of Negation. So between those two, that was basically mitigating all of the damage. More or less, like 80+% of that Final Transmutation, so that actually ended up doing very little. Didn't net him any kills at all, almost, so yeah. Very nice magic mitigation there. Rune Lord says no to your filthy Final Transmutation. And it looks like we're missing a bombing run here as the gyrocopters roll up. Ooh, do they have one more, maybe? Looks like they might have used them all, but yeah, dropping their bombs here, bombing out this front line. That being said, there are still a lot of Chosen with great weapons here, and that is potentially a problem. The Ironbreakers are starting to get a little bit worn down over time. The Hammer is also in the back line. Don't match up super well against Chosen with great weapons, so we'll see. Big Bird himself has taken a lot of damage, though, kind of getting bogged in by the Dragonback Slayers. The Rune Lord also slapping him around a little bit. The Rune Lord himself is basically just immune to damage. 25%. Physical and 50% missile, along with 55% magic resistance. So yeah, just no. In terms of resistances, he's one of the tankiest characters in the game. But yeah, this is a little bit of a mistake, honestly, in my opinion, by Wicked. I kind of understand why he's doing this. I mean, these guys do enough missile damage that they'll still get through Big Bird's 60% missile resistance. But at the same time, it's not super efficient. It'd probably be more efficient to use these guys to just fly around here and shoot these like Chosen and Chaos Warriors in the back. They actually do reasonably well at shooting at heavy infantry, even though it says anti-large on the unit card. But yeah, up close, Chosen, Hammerers, Ironbreakers, Big Bird, all fighting here. Just absolutely glorious. Oh man. Oh man, just so awesome. I love the sounds too. Creative Assembly does a great job with the sound design, just like the heavy metal clashing. You can hear the dwarves screaming, yelling ancestral curses. The Chaos Warriors alternately laughing, weeping, throwing up, who knows. Having tentacles burst out of their mouths. It's chaos. You don't question. The only thing you do is fight back, and the Rune Lord is doing just that. Coming in the front line here. He actually has enough mass to kind of stop up this chariot here, so, oh yeah, good block there, bud. I don't know if that was intentional at all, but kind of blocked up that chariot for a sec. If he actually gets an attack on the chariot as well, he could probably take it out here, but, oh man, that's so cool. Just surrounded by these Ironbreakers who have managed to hold this entire time. Shout out to the Nordlings Ironbreakers fighting some of the most elite infantry in the game, and not exactly in like a one-on-one matchup either. Kind of outnumbered. They are pulling through as it is. Granted, give the Gyros credit for supporting fire as well. They are just about to take down that Manticore once more. Take down this leadership, that is. This chariot's still kind of roaming around here, but it's having a hard time pathing around in this forest. So, I guess one of the reasons why Wicked decided to deploy in this defensive geometry here, which, you know, some of you aren't going to like that. That, I think, you know, from my perspective, as long as he's following tournament rules, like, it's all fine by me. And, I mean, attacking with the Gyros does count as attacking. Not to mention there's things that Demi could have done with his build to try and draw out the Dwarves from that defensive position, but he did not do that. So, totally fair play by Wicked there, and yeah, super cool. Those heavy metal Dwarves just holding out to the end there. Super cool stuff. The Gyrocopters doesn't count a lot of their kills, but of course doing some key work against the Chariot, putting in good work against Sarthril as well, the bombs and stuff, bombing out a lot of those infantry, the Manticore and everything, so yeah. Let's see, 134, holy cow, on the Peak Gate Guard. Considering this Chaos Army, that is a lot of kills. 59 XP Chevron for these Ironbreakers here. These other two Hammers didn't do quite as well. Hammers, honestly, I think you're almost better off to just Chevron up Longbeards with great weapons, honestly. We'll kind of talk about that in just a minute here. But, yeah, Dragonback Slayers doing their thing, of course. From DBG's perspective, the Final Transmutation was a little bit of an unfortunate pick. The Rune Lord on his chair is not the most common pick in the world, but it is a possibility, so I tend not to bring Final Transmutation for that reason in this matchup. We'll kind of talk about that as well, but yeah, Chosen with great weapons, of course, doing their thing. Chaos Chariot, getting a little bit of work done, but it is a little bit of a tough situation to be able to even use that Chariot, but well, let's go back to the drawing board a little bit and talk about a couple things. So first things first, the Dwarves. Let's see here. So Hammerers, they don't trade super well into different things. I mean, their melee defense is a little bit low for a unit of this price range, especially for their cost. They have really good weapon strength and melee attack. Not a lot of charge. 100 armor is pretty good. But 1100, I mean, 35 melee defenses, if you compare them to something like Chaos Chosen with great weapons. Granted, Chosen with great weapons are significantly more expensive, but, I mean, 46 melee defense. Chaos Warriors are at 32, and they're significantly cheaper. So, I mean, just kind of gives you a little bit of a perspective of where they're at. I mean, I don't know. They trade okay, but just great weapon infantry in general can be a little bit tricky to make work. If you compare them, Longbeards with great weapons, I'm just curious. This used to almost just be better straight up, but it's almost the same price. You get 51 melee defense, only 36 melee attack, significantly less weapon strength, but you also get charge defense against large. They have better leadership, and they also have encourage and immunity to psychology, all of which the Hammers do not have, and they are also slightly cheaper. So, potentially, like, if you have Longbeards with great weapons chevroned up, and you're, especially, like, if you have Thorgrim giving out melee attack buffs here, like, if he gets low, he can give out High King, or even just with the Great Book of Grudges, the Longbeards with great weapons are honestly going to be better than Hammers, and that's largely due to the Hammers' kind of low melee defense. So, yeah, just kind of some food for thought there. Something to think about there if you're considering the base Hammers. Now, the Peak Gate Guard, of course, with their armor sundering, magic attacks, being a regiment of renown, they have much better melee defense. They also have immunity to psychology, which the regular Hammers do not have. So they can be worth it. They're a little bit expensive, but they can definitely be worth it in a situation like that. Yeah, as for the Warriors of Chaos, Big Bird here, Final Transmutation's all well and good, but You guys know from my playstyle, I like to just use Armor Sundering and not really worry about having to bring too much AP because it tends to be better for missile mitigation. So, for example, if you take Big Bird here, I will tend to take Transmutation of Lead, Plague of Rust, of course, very important, and Searing Doom is nice for disrupting, you know, like artillery crews, rangers, kind of lighter dwarf troops, or just if something's armor's torn away, or just generally kind of raining fire if you need to. And then Weird Spawn are also a pretty key component of that. They do have Armor Sundering as well. I mean, granted, they're a little bit vulnerable to dwarf ranged fire, but ideally, if you're swarming your opponent's backline effectively, then you'll be able to get them in without too much trouble. And I tend to go with something like this in terms of infantry composition. Just more shielded stuff, rather than going with the great weapons stuff. You just take more shields and just try and go a little bit wider in that way. I'd also recommend taking a couple Marauder Horsemen just to give you some backline harass and at least one ranged option. These guys will do pretty well against gyros as well. If you're worried about something like that happening to you, I mean, a Hell Cannon can be a good idea. If the Dawi bring artillery, like if they bring a cannon or even a bolt thrower for that matter, your Hell Cannon is going to be in for a bad time. But if they don't, at the same, then you're in a really good position because they are forced to come to you. That's really not ever the best for the Dawi to have to march across the field and fight someone. I mean, you can do it, but it's not necessarily ideal. So if you can force them to you with the Hell Cannon, you know, maybe even take Lore of Fire Sorcerer rather than Big Bird and just snipe out with fireballs. Although in that case, you would definitely need to take primarily a armor piercing build, but. Going back to this here, I might also take just a couple hounds here. You don't even necessarily need the poison, just to chase routing units primarily. And then, of course, the trusty Feral Manticore. And then, yeah, I might see about changing up a few things here. We're in a little bit of an awkward place in terms of funds. I could almost afford another unit here, so I might try and fine-tune this a little bit here. But this is sort of where I would start with taking on the Dwarves as Chaos. Alternately, you could go with something completely different and do like a fun like Fireball / Flamestorm and just, you know, snipe out the artillery with Fireball, maybe have some Hell Cannons, maybe have Flamestorm for when they get up close to just blow up their whole dwarf box or whatever. I mean, like in that situation, a big Vortex spell like Purple Sun or Flamestorm would just absolutely annihilate if you casted it in the middle of that box. So, you know, some more food for thought as well, but hopefully you enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.